Hi everyone, welcome to our workshop today for learning growth for podcasts on YouTube. My name is Bengü Atamer, and I know there are a few people waiting to join or will be joining us shortly. So I think I'm going to give it a little bit of time for everybody to get ready and to kind of find the link from their email and to join the workshop today. In the meantime, though, it would be great if you're already online. It would be great if you could introduce yourself, if you could tell where you are joining from today. And but then I'm going to also kind of further introduce myself as well to keep us going a little bit. So there might be some silence in the meantime. But for today's topic is very exciting for us. As we all know, podcasts are booming in general, and YouTube is booming in general. So the combination of the two is definitely booming. And we would love to kind of deep dive and understand what are the different kind of examples, what are the different best practices, who's doing what, and how you can potentially grow your presence on YouTube for podcasts. Hi, Florida. Thanks for joining today. By the way, I am based in London, United Kingdom. I'm going to introduce our company shortly as well. Hi from Dallas, Texas. So there's a lot of audience from America. Perfect. Thanks for joining and thanks for your time. Oh, Portugal. That's lovely. Thanks for joining as well. Hi, Dave. Nice to meet you. Hi, Jay. You're based in London as well. Perfect. We have a person joining from New York as well. Brilliant. Perfect. It's very, very UK, US, and European based. Southwark, London. We are in Soho. Would be nice to meet in person as well. Hi, Ina. Nice to see you. You're in France. Perfect. It's been a while. We should catch up. Wow, Canada, Toronto as well. Thanks for joining today. Very international. I'm happy. So, Mexico City. Hi, Sarah. Nice to meet you. Thanks for joining. And I'm hoping after this workshop, at least you kind of learn something new. That's my goal. And then obviously, if you have any follow-up questions, anything else that you want to ask, we are always available. I would love to follow up, meet if you're in London, and have a chat if you're not in London over a Google Hangout or Teams or Zoom, whatever you're preferring kind of in terms of communications. Okay, maybe I can. Hi, Canada as well. Thanks for joining. Okay, perfect. Maybe I'm just going to start with some introductions as to who we are, what we do, where we come from, just to give you some background information, obviously. My name is Bengü Atamer, and together with my co-founder, Paola Marinone, we have been operating on YouTube for a very long time. So we worked at YouTube together when after Google's acquisition of YouTube. And then we saw a massive opportunity, obviously, with the creator ecosystem and with YouTube changing the landscape of entertainment and media as we know it. So we wanted to kind of take a leap of faith, and we founded Basma Videos. So I can say that most of our lives has been working on the platform, off the platform, seeing a lot of content and watching a lot of videos. And specifically for the last few years, we have also been working with a lot of podcasts, either individual podcast creators or podcast production studios or agencies. And at the core of our business, we're not consultants. At the core of our business, we leverage a technology that we have created, which is called FullScore AI. And that technology enables us to give data-driven kind of actions and insights across one video or across thousands of videos or across hundreds of videos on a given channel. But then obviously we have accumulated as a team a lot of know-how, a lot of best practices as well. So we combine that technology with our know-how, and we kind of work across from content strategy to content optimization to content growth, or sometimes currently with some of the podcast studios or agencies, we specifically focus on guaranteed kind of viewership growth through YouTube advertising as well. So we do work across a breadth of different kind of things, from optimization to, let's say, monetization and different revenue opportunities on, not necessarily for podcasts, but definitely podcast is a big kind of area for us as well. So moving on, today's workshop, our primary goal is obviously we want to make sure that you turn your YouTube channel or your podcast into a primary discovery engine. And you do all, because I'm sure your content is already great. It's just a matter of finding the right way to get that content discovered on YouTube, because YouTube is an ocean of content and there are many great content on YouTube, but also YouTube has a specific set of rules where you can have more control and get more discovery for your content. That's our first goal, to make sure that people see your content or discover your content. The second piece is like, once they see your content and they discover your content, we want them to come back to your content. We want them to become loyal audience for your channel or for your content. So these are the two different kind of goals. And I'm going to walk you through who's doing what and how you can achieve that. But just to set the scene, I would like to understand why YouTube, like why you should even be considering YouTube as a platform, or why you should even put your content on YouTube. I mean, I've been checking some numbers specifically for podcasts. You would know these numbers better than I do, but when it comes to kind of podcasts, we are looking at an audience of 600 million listeners across the globe. So that's massive. But then when we look at YouTube's kind of audience, we know that YouTube is reaching 1 billion people every single month. So that's one metric that you should hold on to, because it's massive. It means that you have billions of people that could potentially become your audience. YouTube, after Google, is the second largest search engine, meaning people on a daily basis. Now there is AI and chatbots, etc., and it's going to make YouTube's position a little bit stronger as well, because as you might have seen, these LLMs are giving a lot of citations back to YouTube. So YouTube not only is a second search engine, but also a very important discovery lever when it comes to LLMs, etc. But people on a daily basis search stuff intentionally. They search topics of interest, they search educational content on YouTube. So that's another level of discoverability. And you might have seen something interesting is happening. We have always thought that the new generation is on mobile, the new generation is on YouTube. Older generations or more mature generations, they're not necessarily that mobile savvy, etc. But now YouTube is also winning on TV. So YouTube's share of voice on TV is more than Netflix or Disney, etc. And in the last couple of years, YouTube's smart TV consumption has doubled, both in the US and in the UK, which is telling us that, okay, there is the search engine bit, there is the TV bit, and there is the LLM bit. And also YouTube has a music app, which if you identify as a podcast, they serve your content on their music app, which means you have 4 different and very important and very big reasons to get your content on YouTube. I am not an expert on other platforms, but I was checking mainly, for instance, on Apple. There are more than 450,000 podcasts on Apple, existing podcasts. It's, again, a very big number. But what I'm seeing is because Apple and Spotify, they do not have such a strong recommendation system, such as like YouTube, content discoverability there is a bit behind YouTube's content discoverability. So if you have existing following on those platforms, it's great. But then they do not serve as a new discovery engine for new shows or new content, whereas YouTube does definitely serve as a new discovery engine. So that's your main reason why you should be on YouTube. Discoverability, get your content in front of that 1 billion people. Second one, YouTube is also a winning platform when it comes to podcasts. Their share of voice is more than the other platforms. They are seeing 30 to 34% leadership in terms of podcast consumption platform in the US compared to Apple and Spotify. And also, 1/3 of the listeners, they've mentioned that they are discovering new podcasts on YouTube. They're listening to new content that is being recommended to them. So that's why that recommendation system is really important. One final reason how YouTube wins is because compared to the other platforms, I do know Spotify introduced video content, but YouTube reaches two senses, like your hearing and visual senses. The more senses that reach, the more engaging content becomes. So many listeners mention that for over 40% across US, that they do prefer audio visual content rather than simple audio content. So that's another reason. It may be more kind of cumbersome to create that content, but that's another reason why people stick and people kind of like consume more content on YouTube than other platforms. Okay. Moving on, I'm going to give you some examples because I was like, what I generally do when I'm working on a channel or when I'm giving some advice. And this is one tip that you should definitely take away as well. Please do find, I'm sure you have great content and great channels, but please do and find a channel or a content that's in your genre that is performing really well. And sit down and understand what content they're producing on a weekly basis, what's their frequency of upload, what's their formatting in terms of programming. Is it long form? Is it short form? Obviously with podcasts it's long form, but how are they packaging it? Are they putting long form? Are they putting live? Are they promoting it in a different way? How are they selecting their talent? So learn from that and kind of apply those learnings to your channel. So that's, I generally go and check the top videos of a channel that is my, let's say, competitor. And I try to understand what they are doing good, what's working for them, which I can take away and apply in my tone of voice, in my way of working to my channel. So here, 3 examples. I'm sure you know these podcasts because they are very, very popular. The first one is Diary of CEO, and it's led by Stephen Bartlett. And the reason that I brought it, you might have noticed one thing watching his content. Whenever I kind of watch one of his videos, podcasts, they do an amazing job in terms of their intro and their hooks. So they take away one key clip, or one key section from their video and put it at the very beginning, just to draw you into the conversation, into the podcast. And then they cut it off. They just like get you on the peak, and then they cut it off so that you're hooked in. You wait until you go to that moment. And it's like obviously more than an hour long podcast, but at the very beginning they show you that key information. Their hooks are amazing. And I'm going to go in detail the other ones. Obviously Huberman Lab, it's been there for kind of like ages, since, I don't know, for a couple of years. I've been, at least myself, have been like following the content since the pandemic times, I think. And the reason that this content works, I think they are hitting the thing that I was mentioning before. YouTube is a search engine at the end of the day, and people do search a lot of health, a lot of science, a lot of biohacking, a lot of information stuff. And how they formulate their content, if you see one of their videos, they have a lot of chapters within that video. It's like a 2-hour long video. Every 10 minutes or 5 minutes is dedicated to a question. That's a searchable question. That's a question that people specifically search for. And they do give that answer in that search, in that chapter. So they play the card of SEO and discoverability a lot. So all of their sections are answering a question. And you might have noticed sometimes when you search something on Google brings you a snippet of a YouTube video from one of the chapters. And I think this channel is doing an amazing job kind of catching that snippet or catching that question or playing to that evergreen, educational, searchable content. If there is one thing to take away from it, if you do not have, especially obviously if your content is longer than half an hour or 10 minutes, do put chapters or timestamps in your content and make those chapters searchable. Like put the main keyword in that chapter or answer a question in that chapter. Make sure that it's playing to the search engine kind of like leverage. Another one, Mel Robbins, I think I've discovered her through one of the Diary of CEO kind of videos. And then I've discovered that she has her own podcast. So this is a very personality-driven podcast. The primary reason is like they are speaking directly to the camera. They are high energy persona, and they establish an authority. It's like they're playing to more of the emotions or the kind of like the psychological dimension of content. And their content works really well, as you might have seen, self-help and motivation, those type of content works really well on YouTube. But again, it's that kind of personality that drives the content. So on this one, my suggestion is like, you need to make sure that you have, again, a good kind of personal or talent-driven narrative that can kind of hold the audience throughout the video. It's not necessarily a YouTube-specific thing. And I think this content is important in the fact that their first 5 seconds or the hook is like very emotionally engaging, and that really counts on YouTube. Also, I wanted to kind of check some other podcasts. I wanted to diversify a little bit. And then there is another 3 examples. One of them is the rest is history. Obviously, there is the rest is politics. The rest is science, I think, right now. And I specifically wanted to mention the rest is science, which is recently launched. They are using, it's very clever because they are using Michael Stevens from Vsauce, which has been a very popular YouTube channel since the last 10 years. Michael is a very important figure on YouTube on his own, and they specifically incorporated him into their new podcast. So this is another leverage that you should definitely use, meaning if you are on YouTube, do find those collaborators or YouTubers and try to incorporate them into your show or into kind of your narrative, and make sure to get some of their traffic back to your content. So the rest is history. Lex Friedman and Trash Taste podcasts are completely different in terms of how they play the YouTube game. Let's look at the rest is history. Here, I wanted to kind of bring an important kind of like key information that how they configure the podcast is really YouTube friendly. Okay, there are two kind of main hosts speaking about a topic. The topic history is like evergreen. So as you might have seen, I'm seeing a pattern here. When it's evergreen, when it's searchable, it really works well on YouTube because of the fact that YouTube is a search engine. So these topics, you can watch them today, you can watch them 5 years later, or you can watch them, 20 years later, potentially. And what they do, instead of making the narrative just 2 people speaking, in each episode, if they're talking about, let's say, English history, they're bringing in animations, the Queen Victoria images, or like whatever they're talking about. They are making sure that it's filled with filler content or graphics or motion or some sort of engaging way to keep the audience more engaged and more hooked in. So they are kind of like doing 2 things right. One, they're putting low friction visuals within the content, but then the topics that they pick are evergreen popular topics that are already working on YouTube. So definitely, I would highly recommend rather than putting and I've seen this on the rest of science podcast with Hannah Fry and Vsauce as well, what they have done is like whenever they're talking about a very complicated or complex topic in terms of science, they do and put some motion graphics or images to make the audience understand and conceptualize what they're talking about rather than just like talking through it. And Lex Friedman, obviously, his main trick is YouTube's main KPI is not views, but it's watch time, as you might all know. And watch time doesn't mean how long people stay on your content. Watch time is more complex than that. Watch time is how long people stay on your content, but also continue watching other stuff on YouTube because of your content, the entire session. But if you make sure that you have 3-hour long content like Lex Friedman does, and if you make sure that people do stick and do watch that 3-hour long content, that is a lot of watch time. So 3 or 4 hours on your channel is going to signal something to YouTube saying that, okay, people are really hooked in and really engaged with this content. And YouTube just like exponentially pushes that content. And the way that he's kind of packaging his content is he not only puts 3 or 4 hour content, he then clips them through, again, searchable topics like how Andrew Huberman was doing with chapters. Lex Friedman is doing it not with chapters. He reclips them. He cuts the video in 3-4 minute kind of clips and re-uploads them and makes sure that people actually, if you don't have time to watch the 3-hour long video, if you're only interested in a specific section, then you can watch that on its own. So you don't have to kind of go through the entire video. This is another tactic. Make sure he actually launched a specific channel just for that called Lex Clips. His long form sits on one channel, his short form sits on another channel, and they cross promote one another. So he has 2 channels that are serving different types of consumption necessities, let's say. And lastly, this is so interesting. I do not know about this podcast. I've just discovered when I was researching for this workshop. And they are doing something really interesting. They are playing the YouTube game within YouTube. It's kind of like, it's very YouTubey. The content is very YouTubey. It's like touching on gamification of content. There's like visual gags. There's behind the scenes. It's very authentic. They do not cut. It's very raw. It's like they play games. It is extremely YouTube specific content. And this is another strategy. Maybe you have some on-demand content, but from time to time, you may actually do something out of the blue just for engagement, like meaning you could do a live podcast, you could do a premiere, because YouTube is pushing live and premieres and all of these different functionalities within different feeds. So you may tap into other discovery channels on YouTube using live premieres or kind of more fan engagement or engagement with your community. And if you're ever interested in that, please let me know. So we would be happy to kind of discuss how you can repackage and leverage that content. Okay, I need to move faster. So I'm a fast speaker, but I'm going to speak even faster. 3 things to take away. 1, have different levels of packaging. 1, you have your long form for sure, but then don't forget about your short form, short clips. YouTube is pushing shorts a lot. There is 200 million viewers on a daily basis watching YouTube clips, and you can link that short form to long form content. And make sure to sometimes cut, like how Lex Friedman is doing, cut your content into more digestible kind of like clips, so that you can also tap into a little bit more discoverability channel through YouTube. These are some basic discoverability factors. Please do make sure there are 3 things that you could do. 1, make sure you have a very strong title and very strong description, and make sure you have a very strong thumbnail. These are the 3 things that you can optimize for your content: your thumbnail, your title, and the hook. the first 5 seconds. So these are some best practices. I'm not going to go through how you can optimize your thumbnails or you can increase your kind of hook, but I'm going to give you 2 metrics to note. For your click-through rates, make sure it's like more than 5%, even better if it's more than 10%, but let's aim for 5 to 8%, okay? And then for your audience retention, if people are dropping within the first 10% of your content, that's definitely not good. That means that your hook and your audience retention needs to be improved. It has to be like an average minimum 50% or 30%. Let's say 30% to start with. If people are kind of staying until 50% is actually very good. So that these 2 numbers should be your target numbers. And until you reach them, I don't think you would be the winning one on YouTube. So I also want to speak about some podcast specific features on YouTube that you should be leveraging. One, podcast playlist. Make sure you mark your playlist as a podcast, because then YouTube is going to put it in their podcast feed. YouTube is going to put it in the music app, and YouTube is going to put it in the tab on your channel page called podcasts. So you will get 3 different discoverability levels if you tag your content as a podcast. Make sure to optimize your podcast thumbnail, because YouTube gives you a specific thumbnail for your podcast. My goal, or what we recommend, is if YouTube is giving you something to edit and to optimize, do not waste your kind of like waste that opportunity. Make sure to optimize that. And then I've recently learned, I didn't know this is a bit more technical, you can integrate your RSS feed into your YouTube channel, so it enhances your discoverability. Make sure you integrate that as well. Lastly, there are 2 other things to increase your watch time. One, YouTube has these end screens. Make sure to optimize your end screens, and make sure to pin your podcast underneath each of your videos as a comment, so people, whomever is watching one kind of episode, they can go and watch the rest of the podcast. Okay, closing off, I mentioned that we have a technology called Full Score. What Full Score does is like, it's an audit, optimization and growth mechanism. The first step is, if you have a YouTube channel, Full Score provides an audit. It scans all of your videos and it kind of tells you the growth opportunities. It tells you, okay, your thumbnails are not necessarily well optimized. Your video title is not well optimized for YouTube algorithm. Your videos don't have hashtags. So Full Score scans everything and tells you what you might be missing, but also it tells you, or it gives you the means to optimize them, to fix them, to change your title immediately using AI and automation, or to create a new thumbnail immediately, or to create playlists, or to increase your end screen click-through rates, etc. So if you, and this is for completely free to get an audit, so you can scan this QR code, or you can go to fullscore.ai and you can get a free audit for your channel. I've also mentioned that for podcasts, one thing, or for in general with YouTube channels, one thing is optimizing the content and understanding like if it's compatible with the YouTube algorithm. So we provide that with Full Score. But very recently, for the last couple of years, we also started with some podcast agencies and podcast production companies where they integrate sponsorship into their content. And sometimes they want to make sure that the sponsorship reaches the views goals that they have promised. And in that case, we work with them on the organic side, obviously, to make sure the content is optimized and it's kind of performing really well. But also on the paid side, we help them with targeted growth. We target a specific audience from a specific country, and we make sure that that sponsored content reaches the target views that was promised to the client. So we also started working with guaranteed views and growth for any YouTube channel, especially if there is sponsored content. And if you would like to talk to us or inquire about how this might work, please do write to us as well. I'm going to leave our kind of contact details at the end. We can schedule a call. We can understand your goals, understand the growth goals, for instance, and we can review the audit results. And then we can see what are the kind of like the mechanisms that is going to give you the best kind of opportunity to reach that target on YouTube. Now it's questions time. You have 1 minute. I'm joking. You have more than 1 minute to ask me any questions you may have. But these are all the links if you want to inquire about and talk to us about your podcast in general, or anything YouTube specific. These are our contact details. And also you want to inquire about like our guaranteed growth views using Google Ads. This is the page. You can just like click on that page and learn more about it. And more importantly, if you want a free audit, there's nothing to lose. Please do sign up to Full Score. Okay, one question. Do you see a problem if a podcast and long form videos cover different topics? What do you mean on the same channel? If there is a podcast and then there are other, no, I do not see. No, it depends. The overall channel audience should be compatible, because people discover your content or stick on your channel or become a subscriber because of a specific reason, either because that audience is interested in that topic. So if the podcast is completely about a different topic, that doesn't serve that audience, then maybe it requires its own channel. But then the videos and the podcast topics could be different, but serving the same audience, meaning the core audience interest should be the same. As long as that's the same, I do not see any reason. I don't know if I answered your question properly. But if you have any follow-up questions, like, I'm happy to have a chat afterwards as well. Any other questions, comments, feedback? Oh, perfect. I'm glad I did answer that question. 100%. Yes, YouTube loves consistency. We always say this. So you might have seen some channels like the gaming channels. They used to upload content every day and they were on an exponential growth. I think the algorithm, the more you can signal the algorithm that there is a consistency of daily, weekly, monthly. I don't know the frequency of it. So if you can put content daily shorts, we recommend uploading like 1 or 2 shorts on a channel on a daily basis to keep that kind of buzz on the platform, or a weekly kind of show. So consistency does matter on YouTube. You need to keep the channel active and engaged. But if you don't have enough video content, YouTube has community posts. You can be more consistent on the community tab. You can be more consistent converting your existing videos into shorts, because a podcast is like, what, half an hour, 1 hour, or maybe 2 hours long content. You could easily create tens of shorts from one podcast, and then you could upload them on a daily basis, giving traffic back to the long form content. YouTube loves consistency. And I actually had a blog post about this when I was at YouTube, and nothing changed since that day. Like, it's been like 12, 13 years, and I still advocate for consistent uploads and consistent content. Let it be video or non-video, definitely. You should show up on YouTube, basically. Any other questions? Comments? No? Oh, okay. We have produced all of our posts. That's why we know you. Sure. Look, I know we are all kind of like, in a way, perfectionists. At the end of the day, what matters is the content and the key information on that video. I'm not suggesting that you put everything on a low quality image, but as long as the content is interesting enough, is good kind of narrative, then YouTube is very friendly with content. You might have seen the first original content started with, like, go to any big channel and go to their oldest video. They all started with like really low quality, bad content, in terms of their visuals. And over time they improved. So as long as if you believe in the narrative and the storytelling and the content, I do not believe it's going to harm it. But you need to make sure that that content is later on maybe edited in a way. You have the chapters, you have the hook of the title, etc. I think starting from somewhere is more important, and improving it over time is more important than not starting at all, you know. Tags used to be, I think, very important. Right now, I would recommend using hashtags instead of tags. And hashtags, you can put the hashtags in the description field. Put maybe 3 or 4 or 5 hashtags, some very generic, like what your content is about, what's your podcast name, and then some very specific of that specific episode. Put 5 hashtags in your video description to best describe your video, because hashtags has a different page, youtube.com/hashtags, and your content might be surfaced there instead of tags. I'm not saying don't put tags, but it's right now it's a bit debated that they're a bit like not that important. I think they're important. As I said, if I see any empty box on YouTube, I would fill it in, I would edit that, but I would prioritize hashtags over tags. Sure, my pleasure. Any other questions, comments, or am I off the hook? Okay, I hope you found this session useful, and I hope you've learned something new. If you have any questions, again, if you want to inquire about your growth strategies or your kind of like sponsorship kind of views, or targeting on YouTube, or simply optimizing and auditing your content, we will share this presentation with all of you. You will also have our emails and our Calendly links. Please do schedule time with me or with my business partner. We are always happy to learn your story and kind of like your YouTube journey, and we would be here to support you. So yeah, do contact us, please. Thank you. Cheers, thanks. Have a good evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you are. Bye.